Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here, and today we are talking about a potential new battery supplier for Tesla. We also are going to take a look at the S and X delivery timeline, some updates that are happening there, Tesla expanding to a couple new countries, and we'll take a look at the updated situation in China as well. We've got a note from Morgan Stanley discussing that. Calmer waters for Tesla today. Seems like people were really looking for a green day, and we got that today, up 3.2% to $589.74. The NASDAQ was really strong today as well, finishing up 2.3%. Super quick correction from yesterday, and I promise we're not going to talk too much about Bitcoin today, only about 30 seconds here. But yesterday I did mistakenly say that Tesla started their Bitcoin position in mid-March. I was thinking of when they sold a small portion. They actually started their position either in January or February and announced that on February 8th. So just wanted to clarify that. And one other thing that I wanted to point out, just because I've seen a lot of discussion on whether Tesla's decision making here would influence institutional investors and things like that, it's probably worth remembering that when we talked to Alex Potter of Piper Sandler back in February, I asked if he had been getting a lot of calls about Tesla investing in Bitcoin in the first place. He said, quote, "Not a lot to be honest," and then added, quote, "It's not as though we had a tsunami of incoming questions on Bitcoin after this announcement," end quote. So just worth a reminder, sometimes when these things are happening, people point to them as a reason for X, Y, or Z happening. Things can tend to get and feel very amplified, but sometimes that doesn't necessarily match the reality. Not trying to say that the discussion about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as it relates to Tesla is not important, but sometimes in the day-to-day, those relatively smaller pieces of the big picture can feel like they're just dominating the discussion. And in those cases, sometimes it can be helpful to just kind of like cleanse and revisit some of the things that are relatively more important so that you don't get or feel bogged down by the smaller details. So those are my thoughts on that, and that is the last we'll talk about Bitcoin for the day and for the week, pending any Elon tweets while I'm recording. All right, next up here, we've got a report from Reuters that Tesla is seeking to add, I believe, a fifth battery supplier to their supply chain. Quote, "Tesla Inc. is in talks with Chinese battery maker EVE Energy Company to add the firm to its Shanghai factory supply chain, 4 people familiar with the matter said, as it seeks to boost procurement for lower cost batteries," end quote. So EVE Energy Company, they also, like CATL, supply lithium iron phosphate batteries. Tesla currently uses those lithium iron phosphate batteries from CATL for the Giga Shanghai Standard Range Plus Model 3. They have also talked about using that in energy products, but it's not exactly clear if that's happening yet. As for the timing of a possible deal here between EVE and Tesla, Reuters says, quote, "The talks are advanced and the Palo Alto, California-based company is seeking to finalize the partnership in the third quarter, said 2 of the people," end quote. So we've heard Tesla say kind of time and again, we'll buy all the batteries that we can buy as long as they're reasonably priced, despite Tesla currently working on ramping up their own internal battery cell supply. So if this report is accurate, that does seem to be the case from Tesla looking for even more batteries, and if nothing else, it would apply some pressure in terms of pricing on at least CATL, if not Tesla's other suppliers, which would be obviously Panasonic, LG, and they've worked with Samsung a little bit. I think that's the extent of it. Possible I'm missing some. But I think right now CATL is the only one doing lithium iron phosphate batteries for Tesla. So with EVE potentially providing more of that, could open up some more supply for additional production of the Standard Range Plus Model 3 in Shanghai. Or who knows, maybe that opens up some additional supply for a Standard Range Model Y, which has been on the table, then off the table, then on the table, now again off the table. But I'd bet this would be more for the Model 3 and potentially energy storage, as I mentioned. In terms of the battery production volume here from EVE Energy, we don't know exactly what it would be for Tesla, but Bloomberg did report on the battery shipments in terms of market share for 2019 in China. They show CATL as having 51%. EVE is in the top 5, but they only have 3% market share, at least in the EV sector, and again, that's in 2019. So I wouldn't expect any huge volumes from EVE, at least right away. All right, next up here, we appear to have maybe a little bit of movement on refreshed Model S delivery timelines. Quite a few order holders have been getting updated delivery windows. I've been sharing out on Twitter and here on TMC, as you can see. A lot of people are seeing a window now of June 1st to June 30th. I've seen June 21st to June 30th as well. And in some cases, these have been updated either from being in July or August previously. Not that that means Tesla is ahead of schedule from what they'd previously thought by any means. That could just be a matter of establishing some prioritization, whether that's geographical or something else. For example, certain trims. And as we've seen Tesla do in the past, there's nothing stopping them from moving that window back again. But hey, at least it's an update. Tesla is doing something there. I think I saw something going around on Twitter that a delivery holder received an email saying they should receive some sort of update the following week. I think that was on Monday, so maybe we'll get more clarification this upcoming Monday. but it does look like we're at least getting some signs of progress, and hopefully that means over the next couple of weeks, maybe we'll start seeing some things like VIN assignments and deliveries being scheduled rather than just the delivery window. Hopefully we're getting there. Before you know it, it's going to be the end of Q2. We are now today basically halfway through the second quarter already. Next up, we've got some exciting news for a couple of countries in Eastern Europe. Tesla today opening up the design studio in both Hungary and Romania. Came across an interesting post here on the Tesla Motors Club forums as well from a member in Budapest, username Mr. Double B, saying that, quote, "Anyway, the biggest part of the news is the super competitive pricing of the SR Plus. I was absolutely not expecting something this competitive," end quote. So the SR Plus in Hungary starts at just below 15 million Hungarian forints. That's just over 51,000 US dollars, but that includes a 27% value added tax. So taking that out, that's 3.3 million forints. Then the price for the SR Plus prior to value added tax is right around 40,000 US dollars. Mr. Double B here again says, quote, "This means that even with our lovely 27% VAT, it fits within the threshold of the government incentive rumored to be launched next week. Well, for the lower tier of that, but that is still 5,000 US dollars. This also means the SR Plus is super fierce competition for the local traditional OEMs. I wouldn't want to wake up today to these prices if I were them," end quote. So to me, this feels very reminiscent of when we heard the Israel pricing announced. Remember, people familiar with that market at the time said how competitively priced the Model 3 was and how much lower it was than they expected it to be. And that sounds like the case here for Hungary as well. So great news. It is a smaller automotive market, obviously, about 150,000 new vehicle sales per year. Romania is similar in terms of the vehicle market size. And in Hungary, at least, the most sold vehicle is about 7,000 units per year. Model 3 probably too expensive to hit a number like that, but wouldn't surprise me to see at least a couple of thousand Model 3s per year in Hungary. All right, last thing here, just continuing to monitor kind of the sentiment in China as we have been doing over the last couple of weeks. Morgan Stanley was out with a note last night. They provided a couple of comments on the China situation. Remember that while they do have a $900 price target and an overweight rating on Tesla stock, they have been relatively modest in terms of their expectations for China. Anyway, they say, quote, "Tesla investors should not be strangers to major swings in sentiment, and we see room for sentiment to continue to deteriorate on the name from levels of expectations in China that may still be too frothy in our opinion. We believe the pullback provides an emerging opportunity for investors to increase exposure in Tesla in their EV/Auto 2.0 portfolios, and we are a buyer on this weakness as our $900 price target embeds what we believe to be some of the most conservative assumptions about Tesla's long-term standing in China on the street," end quote. So they're not saying there they necessarily see something getting worse in China, just that they see the sentiment potentially eroding a little bit. People may be lowering their expectations related to China longer term, and that may cause them to reduce their price targets or ratings on the stock or sell, whatever the case may be. Morgan Stanley here is saying, hey, we'd buy because we never really had all that high of expectations for China in the first place, even with our $900 price target. As for the actual situation in China, they say, quote, "According to our Chinese auto team, they believe the overall situation for Tesla in China is today slightly better than it was in April. The team sees Shanghai as torn between the social context and the compelling prospects of collaborating with Tesla," end quote. So there's Morgan Stanley's take. We also got an update here from Ray for Tesla today following the situation in terms of the media, saying, quote, "An auto social media outlet in China steps out, publicly apologizing to Tesla China for spreading quote-unquote brake failure rumors without evidence. He urges other outlets to delete the false info and promises to stop spreading rumors in the future. Very interesting development," end quote. So my perception is that the perception in China has kind of been changing since Tesla released the brake data. These things seem to support that idea, but of course we will continue to keep a close eye on it. So with that, we will wrap it up for the day and for the week. Kind of a wild week. We'll see what next week has in store. I hope you all have a great weekend. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe and sign up for notifications. You can also find me on Twitter at Tesla Podcast, and I'll see you on Monday for the May 17th episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.